Thanks so much, Kim, and thank you to ForKids for allowing me to be here tonight. I do enjoy doing charity work, and you know, this week we lost a man who hard to fill in shoes in a charity circle like Peter Decker, and I know a lot of people here are friends of his, but in carrying on that tradition of community, I'm just really honored to be here. As a storyteller, this should get kind of interesting, but I'm really excited to be a part of it. The people who we have lined up tonight are amazing, and I'm looking forward to hearing the stories as much. So I guess somebody's got to warm me up. So it's going to be the kid from Oregon, Eric Worden. If you look at your program, I think everybody's got a title. Mine is, It's Not About Me. And I think the reason why I chose that title is because, well, I've been in this area for about 20 years now, doing radio. You might know who I am. If you know my voice, maybe it's because of the radio, maybe it's because I do voiceover work. Many of you probably don't realize. I'm the Trojan Man. Trojan Man! Good evening, pleasure seekers. That's me, but it pays the bills. But I gotta give credit where credit is due, because for me in my life, it was always about a real trinity, because I'm an only kid. And that voice is Tom Worden. That's my dad. And he was a broadcaster for 30 years. And so when you hear that voice that seems to be me, it's really John Thomas Worden, January 29, 1939, from Eugene, Oregon. I'm also an artist. I'm a multimedia artist. I love music. I've written music with B.J. Learman, and it's part of my life as well. But that art part is all Martha Karen Kopinski. She's from California, right at the base of Mount Shasta she was born. She was filling our house with all kinds of musicals when I was a kid. I know more show tunes than, well, I'm straight, but I know a lot of show tunes. Hugh? Yeah. Could we sing Truly Scrumptious from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang later? My mom also sang in the Messiah every year, so that's in the music part of me. So anything creative you see coming out of me, it's all Karen. The third part, because everything seems to happen in threes, this trinity I speak of, are my children. And if you read a little bit about me, you'll find that it's really my favorite thing is to be a dad. I became a dad at age 20. My oldest is 30. I turned 50. Now I'm a grandfather. Crazy. I have 3 children. There's that 3 again. I have a daughter who's 18 and a youngest who's 11. And he's in 6th grade. And I'd like to make most of my story something I like to call the miracle of Amelie. My parents I brought back here in the last 5 years, and sadly, they are both gone. But they had the opportunity to live in the same town as I did for the first time in 25 years, and they got to meet my children, and vice versa. When they passed, I knew that we'd be making a pilgrimage back to Oregon, and so my son Colby and I, who would go to Worden periodically, which is on the southern Oregon coast, knew that we'd be taking the ashes back there, and last August we did. So while most of the stories tonight are probably laced in humor, mine is really laced in a lot of beauty and reality, but we chose to go down to the beach to find a little tide pool. And on the way, sadly, we found a small seal. It looked like a piece of driftwood, but it was about 6 feet long and was about 300 yards from the water. And for those of us who live around here, the stranding teams obviously come into contact with a lot of sea life, and that was the first thing I wanted to do. I wanted to find out what's going on with the seal. Can we get somebody to help? We tried to help it, and you get close to the seal, big, huge fangs. Colby was such a sweet boy. She needs water. All we had built a fire, and we had brought some paper products from our hotel room, which was on a cliff overlooking the beach. He runs back to the pit, and he grabs 2 Dixie cups, runs 300 yards to the ocean, fills them with water, trucks back to the seal, does it, back to the ocean, does this 3 times. He's exhausted. I've called the authorities, and all I can find is a park ranger who says we'll do something if we can. Well, people had started to gather around and take pictures. So we went off to lunch, hoping that when we came back, somebody would be helpful. Saw a policeman along the way, and I asked him, I said, what happens when you have these stranded animals? And he says, well, we kind of leave it to God. And we knew what that meant. So you're going to dig a hole and bury it after it dies? And that broke Colby's heart. Well, we get back to the beach, and there's a truck down there. We run down there thinking, the stranding team is here. Park ranger putting up signs with a rope around the seal. Do not touch, do not feed, do not put water on it. It's illegal, it's against the law. So we were left to really not be able to do much except pray. I'd spent some time on the computer trying to figure out how to make this a constructive story for my son. And so I looked up on the web some shaman signs, some Indian spirit signs for seal. And the seal was for protection. Well, we had taken those ashes to a tide pool, and we had committed them back to the earth. And I said, maybe this seal is here as part of that Trinity, the Father, the Mother, the seal, Spirit, to take them to heaven. And he seemed to like that, and I did. So even though nobody was supposed to touch this seal, we built our fire, we did our marshmallows, and we said goodnight to the seal that my son had named Anale, Kanana, Tamarin. Anale is his sister Helena, spelled backwards. Kanana was a word that he came up with when he was 3, for triangle. You remember the Trinity? That's what he said. 3, he couldn't say triangle. It was Kanana. And Tamarin was Tom and Karen, my parents' names. We said goodnight. She was even further inland, laying on her side, barely breathing. We went to bed. 7 o'clock in the morning, Colby bounces out onto the deck. Dad, she's moving. No way. I got on my camera, long lens, focused in, inching its way toward the water. Couldn't believe it. Bam, we're down to the coastline. And there it is. He pulls out his iPhone. He starts filming the whole thing, documentary style. We're here on the beach with, and I'm like, and it went on for 8 minutes. And he's watching Anale and explaining the beauty of this moment. And I'm in disbelief. But inch by inch, leaving this trail of just hard, grueling, progress. Anale makes it back. First splash of water on the nose. It's been 24 hours. No water, no food. Against the law. When she disappeared under that water, he let out this thing that I think means joy. It was amazing. And it's all on film. And it's all on YouTube. So when you go home, I want you to look up the miracle of Anale. And remember, it's Helena spelled backwards. One more thing I want to just mention, because this is kind of an interesting thing. I went back to the station a couple of months ago, and I was thinking about that word Kanana. It's kind of fun to say. Say it. Kanana. Isn't that fun? K-A-N-A-N-A? Put it in your search engine. I'm going to tell you what a miracle is all about. For those of you who have seen the African exhibit at the zoo, it's all about the Botswana Okavango, the Delta. I looked up online, I put it into the Google, and it said Kanana, a village in the middle of the Okavango Delta. Delta, the shape is what? Triangle. A triangle. And that's my story.